A goal in a way. I was really looking forward to being in this place, of course, not knowing what this place was. But we were looking around, we looked in the Northeast Kingdom and didn't quite find the place. And then once when we were driving from Massachusetts into Vermont, we went to the tourism stop in Guilford, I think, and found a real estate booklet and a picture of this place. Looking out on Mount Washington was there, and we made a beeline for it. We looked at it and loved it, and that was it. We didn't really know the town. We didn't really get close to the cultural resources of Randolph right away.
That painting over there is Mount Washington, and it's about what it's like to be on the top of the mountain and looking at the mist coming up and swirling around and being there and looking off in the ranges. So that was quite a spectacular thing. I had never seen Mount Washington. The way that the mountains affect me is that it affects my spirit. It gives me peace and calm. They are so beautiful. The mountains are for me as calming as the water was. And I was raised, every view you could see the water. And I was lifeguard as a kid, to swim every single day. Once I finished practicing my flute, and I had to do that absolutely every day, once I finished that, I could escape to the water. These are sednas. And sednas, I love this. It's an Inuit legend of Sedna, who is the goddess of the ocean. And she's all powerful, and there's a story of what happens to her. But this is Sedna. She's powerful, she's strong, she can be angry, she can be calm. She affects the whole universe. And the shaman is a person who's a spiritual person who represents the people, and he goes down to the bottom of the ocean and negotiates with Sedna. If she's angry, he calms her, braids her hair, calms her down, and creates peace in the universe through Sedna. But he also often asks for a good harvest for the people, because her fingers ended up being the creatures of the sea. So she has power over all the creatures in the universe. So that's Sedna. And this is a Sedna, and that's a Sedna. I went to a gallery in New York that carried Inuit sculpture, and I've collected little pieces. And the first piece that I ever bought was a Sedna. So it's Sedna. It's very nice here to feel that my fellow sculptors are my friends. That doesn't always happen. And I do feel that that is really true here. As far as inspiration, that comes from everywhere. So it's here, but it's elsewhere. It's around the world, and it's books and music and exhibits and nature, and so it's everywhere. But it's very special that my fellow sculptors and I are friends. I so much like the color of plaster that I've been experimenting to see what I could do with something that would make it more permanent and not as fragile. But this is not the perfect solution, because if you drop this, it'll break. This piece is titled Hope, and I think it's one of the more successful pieces that I have done. And I actually consider it to be an early self-portrait. That's how I felt for much of my life. Sort of very protective, a little shy, and going through some tough stuff, but looking up and thinking there is hope. This is titled Sunshine, and it is a deer. It was a commissioned piece, and it is a deer that replaced a deer on Deerfield Avenue in a part of Hartford, Connecticut. It was damaged during race riots, and
In the 60s.
yeah, in the 60s. And the Christian Activities Council worked very, very hard with the people in the neighborhood, and they pretty much got rid of the drug problem and rehabbed houses and everything. And there was this damaged deer still, and they decided that in order to really celebrate the success that they've had in the neighborhood, that they would commission to have the damaged deer replaced. And I feel this in a way was really quite an honor. It was an area that was almost all black, and they decided that they would like to have a white woman do the sculpture, which I think is a great triumph. And this is titled Sunshine, and it is now there, replacing the damaged sculpture. It's been there for years. It has not been damaged in any way. But what I like about this is that I think the shape is joyous. And it's the form, it's the body, it's the head, it's the ears that are out there sort of singing, and the tail that's upright. And so it is a proud deer that replaced the sadness that was in the community. And why I want to show this also is that Randolph has, Morgan horses are very important to Randolph. And one of the things I would love to do is a Morgan horse with ears and tail celebrating and the joyousness of the Randolph area. And a long tail, a long beautiful tail, and the ears that Morgan horse has.
Karen is known for her long ago decision to take a horse down to its basic form and get rid of manes, ears, tails, and just do the shape. So
yes, in a way.
If anybody heard that you wanted to do a horse and
with ears and tail,
Randolph, they would say, "Oh no, here she comes again." One of her shapes, but it ain't really a horse because it's not ears and tail and mane. But she
I feel often
can do it.
With sculpture, with sculpting horses, it's cheating to add the ears and the mane and the tail, because that is part of what often people think makes them so beautiful. So I wanted to make a horse form without anything like that as a test to myself to just create the shape, but with the Morgan horse that I would like to do with ears and tail. The title of the piece is Separation. And it's about what happens to people when they're torn apart and can't be together, whether it's families or whomever needs to be together. And I think of it as two beings, two souls that merge into one, and they're floating on the ocean. And I don't think I have a title for it. I think music is one of the most powerful forms that there is. And it's not fair. It can go immediately to you and just get right into your soul and your being. And you're helpless. That's it. You're just surrounded by this. And what I have wanted to do with sculpture, with form, is touch people's emotions it can't be in the same way as music, because music is so all powerful. It's just right there, and there's nothing you can do to get away from it. With sculpture, you have to look at it or touch it or something. But with form, I want to touch people's inner, deepest emotions. And I think a lot of people are not aware of the fact that form can create emotions and concepts and thoughts. And that's what I want to do. I was a professor for a number of years, and many years, and taught. One of the things I taught was drawing. And one of the vehicles that I used to teach people how to look was to take 2 white eggs that are from a regular egg carton, they're supposed to be all the same, and say, draw these, and I need to be able to tell which egg is which from your drawing. And by really, really, really looking and taking the time and really seeing the shape, it opens up this world.
She did early on want to draw, and after a typical family fight, typical of all of us, she went up to her room, discouraged by all the squabbling, and she drew a horse on the wall, and in crayon, not easily taken off. And her dad came up the stairs and looked into her room and said, well, now finish it. And what I'm thinking is, the one ingredient of development of any artist is to have somebody kind of on your shoulder and encouraging you to do what you're needing to do. And I think that little story stands for a lot.
Actually, until I went to the University of Michigan, I didn't know that sculpture actually existed. I didn't get to museums or anything like that. And I had the courage to sign up for a sculpture class, not really knowing what it was, and went there and looked in the room and could not believe my eyes. I was just, people make things like this. And that was it. I've been doing it ever since. That was my sophomore year of college. I didn't know if I could do it or anything about the world of galleries or fabrication, or I knew nothing, but I knew I was going to do it. The book is something that is new. I've been working on it maybe about a month and a half.
Yeah.
And it is by request with a gallery that I'm working with in Taipei. And so I finally broke down and did what was requested, which is sort of an overview of my work. And within this book are photographs of models of sculpture that are carved. The way that I did this is that I'd take a container, pour plaster into it, let it harden, and then directly carve into it. So here are the 4 figures, and they're right here. And they could be a model for something that would be cast in this size, or they could be enlarged. And they could be any size that was needed. I began with plaster at the University of Michigan in the sculpture department, and have always loved it. Have continued using plaster over and over and over and over again, always. And then casting it in, getting it cast in bronze, or fabricated in corten steel or other materials. So the latest experiment is glass. I'm getting some pieces cast in glass, which will be very interesting to see how that'll turn out. One of the most major pieces that I've done that was installed in Suzhou, China, we did by email and photographs. And I went there just 4 times to supervise. And there it is. Actually, there's the piece. It's huge. It's really, really huge. And it was drawings and photographs and email and trust, and it worked. So being in Randolph, living here with Tony, is an absolute delight, and so I have a nice place to work and live, and it's all just fine.